Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Shruti Mishra and with me is Ritu Singh. These are the top headlines from the startup space. Former Indian cricketer and entrepreneur MS Dhoni has invested an undisclosed amount in fitness startup Tagda Raho. The startup said the partnership would help it expand its footprint across the country.
Homegrown dental chain Clove Dental's parent raises an equity investment of $50 million from the Qatar Investment Authority. The funds will be used to grow the dental clinic network, expand smile-enhancing solutions, and develop a therapeutic oral care product.
BharatPay's parent files a case in the Delhi High Court against Ashneer Grover. As per report, the company seeks an injunction after he divulged what it said was confidential information.
Government and RBI officials to meet banks and payment aggregators next week as cyber fraud cases rise. Sources say the objective of the meeting is to explore effective risk mitigation solutions to the menace.
Amazon workers come out on strike at multiple locations across Europe as protests against the e-commerce giant's working practices picked up pace. Make Amazon Pay, a campaign by the Uni-Global Union, said strikes and protests would take place in more than 30 countries from Black Friday.
NVIDIA tells customers in China it is delaying the launch of a new AI chip it designed to comply with US export rules until the first quarter of next year. Reuters reported the H20 launch has now been pushed back until the first quarter. All right, those were the headlines that we're tracking for you today on Startup Street. Now, in what's brewing, electric mobility company Baaz Bikes has raised $8 million in a Series A funding round that was led by Singapore-based Big Capital, along with participation from Japan's Rakuten Capital and other existing investors. Founded in 2019, Baaz is currently live in South Delhi and wants to expand its footprint throughout the Delhi NCR region over the next 12 months. The funds are going to be used to refine its product offerings and expand its network. Joining me now to talk about this is Anubhav Sharma, the CEO of Baaz Bikes. Anubhav, welcome to Startup Street. Thanks very much for your time here. Very briefly for our viewers, tell us what Baaz Bikes is about, because, full stack EV ecosystem, what does that entail? And, is the plan to remain focused on gig workers alone?
That's right, Ritu. First of all, thank you for inviting me onto this platform. And as Baaz, what we are building is basically this entire ecosystem specifically built for the commercial mobility, right? Because, for example, if you're looking at the personal side, there are not many options available, but that's not the case with the commercial mobility, which is, the people who are doing the deliveries for the likes of Zomato, Swiggy, and multiple other platforms as well. So that is what we are building. We are basically building this entire ecosystem, which comprises of the electric scooters, factories, swapping station, which basically solves all the problems of the rider end-to-end basis.
Okay, so, currently you're only in South Delhi. Give us the numbers. I mean, how large is the fleet? How many drivers, swapping stations do you have? What kind of turnover are you generating?
So in terms of the interest, we almost have around like 8 to 10,000 rider interest onto our platform, but we have been constrained by the supply side of it to deploy more and more scooters on the field. But I think this particular fundraise is definitely going to help us to enlarge the fleet in numbers in terms of around 8 to 10,000 scooters in the next 10 to 12 months. That's what we're looking at. In terms of turnover, so we are basically clocking right now almost like a 3 crore ARR. But we are right now, basically building the proof of, the revenue making proof. And that's what we are looking to scale from here right now. Yeah.
So with this $8 million funding, you told us already you're going to expand the fleet to 8 to 10,000. But what else in terms of product refinement do you mean? Will there be new products that you add as well? Add more stations, battery manufacturing? What else is on the radar?
Definitely, yes, Ritu. So, not just the scooter. So, with the scooter, we'll also expand the infrastructure as well. So, right now, we have around 30 stations over here in Delhi. We are looking to capture entire Delhi NCR with around 500 stations. Again, the same timelines, around 10 to 12 months. Apart from that, definitely there's going to be a lot of refinement in the product side of it also. And we are also looking to target a new specific market also, apart from the delivery, which is the bike taxi segment. So, since the commercial mobility involves the mobility of goods and the mobility of people as well. So we are looking to capture that market as well with the upcoming product portfolio that we're looking to build.
All right. So apart from gig workers, bike taxis is also something that you're looking to do. But, this subscription-based model that you have where you charge drivers on a monthly basis, Is that the only revenue stream, or are there other streams you're looking to tap into?
So right now, yes, this is the only revenue stream that is there right now. We intentionally took this call so as to reduce the entry barrier for these gig workers to jump onto an electric vehicle ecosystem, because the moment you put in the ownership burden onto the rider, it becomes a little difficult for them to try out a new solution which actually can increase their take-home earnings as well, right? So now, since we have already proven that thing, that the solution that we have built basically increases the take-home earnings by almost 80% of the riders. Now we're looking to open up newer ownership models as well for the riders, where let's say they can buy the scooter and can subscribe to the energy network then in parallel.
Okay, but Anubhav, before we let you go, why just Delhi NCR? You said over the next 12 months you're looking to expand there, but what about the rest of the country? Do you have plans to expand there? By when? Do you have global ambitions? What are the long-term plans?
Definitely, yes, Ritu. We definitely have the national as well as the global ambitions as well, but we're looking to basically, grow in a more organic way, I'll say. So by now, what we have figured out is the playbook to capture a cluster. We'll basically replicate that and basically creating the playbook to capture a city, which is the Delhi NCR, right? And then once that playbook is already built up, we'll basically, replicate that in like 10 cities at once in India. And that's how we're looking to, look for a national expansion right now. And definitely, there's a lot of interest coming from the Southeast Asian countries as well, the neighboring countries as well, where they're looking for a similar kind of a solution. And since we have basically built this entire product ecosystem in-house, we are definitely more like a go-to choice for them to, deploy these solutions in their respective countries. So definitely, these things, these expansion plans are definitely on the radar. And yeah, you can say like the city expansion in the India after the Delhi NCR is going to happen in like after this 10 to 12 months timeline, and the global expansion is also there on the cards in the, let's say, in the next 15 to 18 months or so.
Well, that's wonderful, Anubhav. Thanks very much for your time here and for sharing your thoughts, and we wish you the best with your, with Baaz Bikes.
Thanks, Ritu. Thanks for hosting me. And we are definitely here to build a very strong ecosystem and looking to get, put a big push on the gig economy as well. Thank you.
All right, from the world of electric mobility, it's now time to move to the world of fashion. Non-profit organization India Fashion Awards has launched Fashion Entrepreneur Fund. It's a venture studio aimed at empowering emerging fashion and lifestyle entrepreneurs and businesses across India. A 200 crore rupee property, Fashion Entrepreneur Fund aims to invest 20 crores in its first year. And to tell us more, joining me now is FEF's founder, Sanjay Nagam. Sanjay, welcome to Startup Street. First tell us what made you set up a Fashion Entrepreneur Fund? What gap did you see in the fashion and lifestyle industry? And apart from financial assistance, what more will the studio offer?
They always say, always find the problem, then solve it. So the time COVID, we, got the problem at doorstep. That, all the people in fashion, mostly of them, they're just freelancer. They're not doing any job or not doing any, that daily wages thing. They were looking money to sustain at the time of COVID. And because of the India Fashion Award, many of them came to us for the support. I understood the problem and I went to ministries and the banks and everywhere. And we discussed that obviously they need some fund and we should do some support. But according to the norms of the bank and government, there was no system where they're going to support those individuals.
Yeah.
That moment I realized, almost 4.50 CR people in India working in fashion field. It's a huge number. I mean, nobody noticed that number.
Yeah.
Right. So then we thought, let's do something. We can create a fund and can support the people. But while working on the lines, then we realized it's a huge market and there's a huge gap. So we should do a proper fund and make it, very professional, because, one day I'm going to invest somebody's business and he's not able to run the business. So what we need a mentorship also. So what we are giving them fund. Second, we're giving them mentorship also. With all the big names we have on the table, they're going to invest and they're going to support.
Okay. All right. You plan to call in for entries in February next year, and the grand finale will be held in September. Tell us who can apply for this and what will be the selection criteria, and also how many finalists will you choose?
See, working in fashion and lifestyle field since 20 years, I understand only business of fashion and lifestyle. So we're going to invest only those businesses and anybody. I mean, somebody who's having the idea and want to become an entrepreneur in the field of fashion and lifestyle, they can apply. I mean, there's no gender, no age, no bracket. I mean, anybody, a housewife or student, anybody can apply on it.
Okay. All right. And it can be photographers, designers, home interior decorators, everybody.
The categories, I mean, you're a makeup artist,
Okay.
you making that wardrobe consultant, you're a stylist, or you're a photographer, you're a model, you're a
Sure.
designer. So we have almost 26 categories. We mapped it. Those categories, they are going to get the fund.
Okay. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Fashion Entrepreneur Fund is a 200 crore rupee property today, and you will be investing 20 crores in the first year. Will you be investing in all 30 finalists, or will you be, bringing the number down to top 5 or top 3?
See, we're getting 30 finalists for sure, but out of 30, there is a panel. And as we have discussed, we have like Mr. Naveen Jindal, Karan Johar, those kind of people in panel. So our method is like we're going to invest time with them. We're going to understand the business plan along with the person. I mean, the psychology of the person that he's going to run the business or not. I'm not sure that we're going to invest in two or three. Maybe out of 20, it could be five, it could be
Okay.
eight.
And also, I believe in the works is a Fashion Entrepreneur Fund OTT series, which will be presented by Karan Johar, who's on your board, like you just mentioned, and it'll be produced by Dharma Productions. When is the broadcast scheduled? If you can give us more details on that.
When there is a fashion, there is Dharma, and obviously there is Karan Johar. Nobody understands better than him. So yes, he's the one who's going to, nurture all the plan on OTT series. In September, we're going to release, but channel I cannot disclose yet because we are
Okay.
discussing.
But it'll be through the journey of those finalists?
Yeah, it's going to start from the very first day. So the process is we're
Okay.
going to start February. It's going till September. There is different rounds, all 6, 7 rounds. We're covering all the rounds and everything.
Oh, okay. And in the next 5 years, Sanjay, you aspire to channel an investment exceeding 500 crores into the fashion and lifestyle ecosystem. Take us through your future investment targets and how will they foster economic growth and sustainability in the sector?
You understand there is a gap, as I mentioned earlier. So that gap, there is a zero economy, zero investment. At that segment, it's a huge segment. We are going to invest 500 CR in the next years. So that is a growth of GDP, and that is the investment plan. And as I mentioned, sustainability, we have people on board. So they are going to be with them and working with them just to make them sustain. I mean, we're looking out of unicorn in this 5 years plan.
All right, Sanjay, we've completely run out of time, but wish you the very best for all your plans and keep empowering the fashion and lifestyle entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us on Startup Street.
Thank you.
Well, with that, it's time for us to take a short break. But coming up on the other side, do you know about superfoods? We bring you a startup that is making superfoods tasty. We will be back after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Startup Street. Now, superfoods are being seen as one of the tools against malnutrition and solving dietary imbalances. A startup in Kerala is now using algae in cookies to take nutrient-rich dietary concepts from the lab to the snack box. Jude Sanan caught up with the company's CEO to find out how they plan to go up against bigger names in the FMCG segment.
Okay, Najib, what is the name of your startup?
It's called Zaara Biotech and we located in Cochin, Kerala.
And can you describe your startup in one sentence?
It's only about algae and we make cookies from this algae.
Okay. And what is the problem that you are solving?
Mainly the eradication of malnutrition, and we develop consumer-friendly products based on the specific target audience.
Okay. And what is the solution to the problem of malnutrition?
It's called Be-Light cookies. This is our solution. So we develop these algae superfoods from these cookies, this vulgary algae to the chocolate-flavored cookies.
Okay. And can you tell me what revenue you will do this year?
So it's up to 2 crore rupees annually we make from an Indian company. So it is a good one, and we are very happy to that.
Okay. And what kind of funding have you received so far?
In 2020, we got funding from UAE as a $10 million investment. So we set up a new company there, Zaara Biotech LLC in Sharjah. So we have a manufacturing facility in Ajman industrial area, and we are working on the B2B business in there.
What is the biggest challenge that you've had to encounter on your startup journey so far?
The biggest challenge is exactly the awareness of the superfoods to the common consumers. Because you know, in India, high consumer products are competing each D2C market. So we are very hard to overcome that, and a lot of awareness to be needed. So we are investing more in marketing only for this, not being our product. It's just about the algae, the potential source of algae and nutritional profiles.
And what is the craziest story that you've had to encounter so far on your startup journey?
So it's basically when we are pitching to our lot of scientists, they are working on CSIR Institute, and they are providing about the mentorship, and finally they got the product like a commercial brand of Be-Light, and they are very they know that these technologies are already there, but there is a gap between the lab to market. So we are developing technologies and transforming to consumer specific products. So when we introduce to these scientists, they are just wondering about how we can change this flavor of this vulgary algae to these chocolate flavored cookies.
All right. And what's the most feel-good moment that you have encountered so far in your journey?
So that is basically, when a student startup company from the self-financing college of Thrissur in the rural village of Kerala, so it comes to the support of Kerala Startup Mission, and we go to GITEX and pitch our products in the innovative funding schemes, and investing company approaching us and about a pitching, and we pitch. So they investigate us in the, like a security forces come here, and they need to validate our informations and pitch. And finally, we got the funding, about a $10 million investment. And we are not coming from an IIT or NIT. So there's a lot of scopes are there. So that is moment is the best moment where we grab that opportunity through the support of these government schemes only.
All right. Who would have known cookies to eradicate malnutrition and protein deficiency across the world? Invest in the startup today. I think it's all set to make a huge world of difference.
Absolutely. Cookies there, eradicating malnutrition. What a fun way. That includes superfoods. Moving on, when Lalitesh Kathragada, the man responsible for setting up Google India operations, was faced with the challenge of lowering the cost of building Google Maps to make it viable for India, he turned to crowdsourcing. Decades later, he's using the same technique with his new venture to solve India's many problems. Aishwarya Anand brings this story. Take a look.
As the inventor of Google Map Maker, what were some of the challenges in bringing Google Maps to India?
So we faced, the challenge of regulation first. In those days, it was quasi-legal and not quite legal to map. The other one was technology, because nobody had ever mapped the world with people. The third part was belief. So people, even inside Google, had a hard time believing that, people will come together and map the world to this high degree of quality.
You worked on the Arogya Setu app. How did you deal with the issues related to data privacy?
We addressed it in, I think, 3 different ways. One is we set up the privacy terms of the Arogya Setu app, saying that this data will only be used for the purpose defined here, which is to deal with the COVID crisis. We then created a policy document that the government issued, saying that this data is time limited and will be erased after so and so many days. And the final thing was, the technology architecture. We created this ID called a anonymized ID, where all your data sitting in Arogya Setu was tagged to the anonymized ID, and the mapping of that anonymized ID to you, Aishwarya, or me, Lalitesh, was in a separate database which was firewalled away from the rest of the data. Most of your personal data remained on your phone.
You quit Google in 2014. What did you do after that?
I spent a few weeks talking to people, and I had extensive conversations with various troublemakers in Bangalore, like Sharat Sharma, Nandan, and others. And it struck me that this was a time to contribute to building of what later came to be known as India Stack.
So I hear you have an interesting startup now. What is it called?
It's called Indiehood.
Interesting name. What does the name mean?
It means two things. One is India's neighborhoods, and the second meaning is Indie, I-N-D-I-E, as in people doing it themselves.
What is the problem that you're aiming to solve?
We are solving what we call a meta problem, that the world needs lots of platforms to empower all of us with technology. And platforms are exceedingly hard and difficult and expensive to build. Unless the cost and the effort of building those platforms is crashed by a factor of 100, we will not have all the platforms that are necessary for the world.
What led you to start a crowdsourcing platform?
Just growing up in India, in the 70s and 80s, everything was crowdsourced. So if you actually crowdsource in an environment where most people care about each other, magic happens.
What is the role that generative AI is playing with a platform like yours?
We are just starting to adopt generative AI. The first use case of what we have built is a lending platform for the unserved and underserved in India, and along with our partner Avanti Finance, and they are deploying it, and we are building it for them. So, for example, in this financial lending platform, there are 200 loan products which have been created by the community. And all of this is made possible by layers of AI you build in.
So what is the kind of impact Indiehood has had till now?
Indiehood has only, I think, had a baby step, because the underlying technology, from a computer science point of view, it's called a declarative instantiation of what is known as a Alan Newell blackboard metaphor. Building that took us about 3-4 years. On top of that, we built this lending platform called Avanti. And the impact it has had is that in the last 6 months or so, we have disbursed more than 600-700 crores and given loans to 250,000 women.
How much funds have you raised till now?
Nothing. Bootstrapped, old-fashioned way.
All right. Do you plan on raising more funds then?
We are going to raise a very small amount of money because we are embarking on our next journey to create a farming platform to similarly empower farming communities and crowdsource farming communities so the farming communities can thrive. Our mission is, can we increase the income of the farmer by a factor of 2, factor of 3.
How has the business fared in FY23 and what's the target for FY24?
We are in the process of, rolling it out to roughly, I think, maybe 600,000-700,000 users this year, and next year probably double.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. It's been lovely interacting with you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, it's Friday and it's time to take stock of all the startup deals that took place this week. According to Venture Intelligence, startups saw 14 deals worth $69 million this week. This includes notable ones like travel fintech startup Scapia that raised $23 million from Elevation Capital, Matrix Partners, as well as others who had virtual credit card platform Kiwi that backed $13 million from Omidyar Network, Nexus Venture Partners, and others. And that's not all. Vistas Media secured $10 million, while gig workers-focused EV maker Baaz Bikes, that we had on the show today, received $8 million. And last but not the least, also on the show today, fashion apparel company Purple Style Labs attracting $8 million in funding. In 2023, startups witnessed 524 deals worth $6.4 billion.
Well, with that, it's a wrap from Ritu and me, Shruti, on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.